Welcome back to Kirkpatrick and Company. Company today is Marie Collins from the Family Tree. All right. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, I'm excited that you're in the boat.
I am so excited to be here. When I first heard that you were doing this, I was like, oh, I hope he fixed me.
Oh, you have been hit. All right. This isn't like dodgeball in this school. I'm so excited to have this conversation. And really, I want to start with what is the Family Tree? Because I think I'm even guilty to think the Family Tree is about counseling and mental health, but it is about so much more. You are the executive director. Tell us about Family Tree.
Okay, so it's surprising that after 47 years in the community, people still don't know we exist. But it is the Family Tree Information, Education, and Counseling Center. And we were originally started by the Junior League, which I still think is the coolest thing.
That is cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I say that every time I say where our origins are because it is so incredible. And we recently participated in their Legacy in Motion campaign, and I got to speak to the original woman who was the president of the Junior League, 50 years ago, that said, we need a family parenting center. And that's how it started. It was the Family Tree, a parenting center. And then over the years, we have morphed into all kinds of things. We've been big, we've been small, but everyone consistently remembers us in St. Mary's Old Orphanage. And they still ask us if we're there.
Wow.
And we are not.
Yeah. But what a cool legacy to have, though, because I do think that sometimes we take things for granted. There's a nonprofit that I love here called the Confidence Project, and they connect with our teen girls, adolescent girls, and the connector is on like basic hygiene and how to take care of yourself and hair and everything else. And I do think that a lot of people who may have had that structure, may have had that foundation in their life, it's almost hard to appreciate that there are girls who don't have that. And so to really connect with someone about, something that many people view as very basic, but also as a way just to say, like, you can make it. You can learn all the hard things and you can do hard things. I do feel like that's really at the core of the Family Tree as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we are a strengths-based organization. We believe in the power of our community, and that you see that in the partnerships that we have. I mean, we have 47 years of partnerships in this community, and our current legacy is that too. So we have 4 branches: counseling, community education, Jacob Crouch Suicide Prevention, which was a standalone nonprofit that we absorbed 8 years ago.
Wow.
Because they're going to think it was most people don't realize that. And so we brought them under us, and we're able to now do work throughout the whole state. So something that was originally just in Acadiana is now across the state. Healthy Start, which originally was in Acadiana for 16 years, is now in Central Louisiana. So we are not only in Acadiana, we are also serving women and babies in Central Louisiana.
I do think that it's just really fascinating because you do provide the foundation and maybe some people didn't have, and maybe they're hearing things for the first time, or, even when I think about counseling as a whole, I think one of the biggest, benefits of it is you have someone sitting across the table from you who's not shocked. Like, they've heard this issue before.
Oh.
I mean, after 47 years, I think if it's someone who's listening to this podcast thinking maybe they should seek out the services offered by a Family Tree, like, just know it's a judgment-free zone. People have heard all of these things. The resources are in place for that reason. And trust me, like, you're special, but you're not the first person to be going through something.
Yes. It may be a unique experience to you, but it is not a unique experience to humanity. And it is not a unique experience to us.
So obviously, counseling a big part of it, education a big part of it as well. You have an event coming up on September 25th. It's happening at the Pavilion, and it's really tackling some of the challenges. I mean, strengths and challenges are something everyone's talking about, and that is AI, AI in business, AI just in modern life. As I'm sort of like reading through these things, it comes with a ton of responsibility. Kind of give us a rundown of the event.
So we have been known to bring events to the community that people are already talking about. So years ago, when we first acquired Jacob Crouch, or early in the year, there was the 13 Reasons Why, that movie that came out on Netflix, and the community went nuts. Rightfully so, because there was something no one had really talked about.
Yeah.
And so within 2 weeks, we had scheduled an event so that we could bring this conversation to the community.
And wasn't that so fascinating, by the way? Like, I'll stop there. The 13 Reasons Why thing I thought was so fascinating. And one of the things I've always heard about suicide was like asking about it or asking if someone was thinking about it does not increase the chances that they're going to do it. Like, you're most likely not going to inspire them.
But not.
Maybe it gives them a reason to say, yes, I am going through a hard time. And that, because I'll tell you, that movie, when it hit Netflix, I guess that's where it streamed. I think Netflix.
Yes.
There were a lot of people who saw that movie and thought it was encouraging it. And it was bringing the issue where you were actually just sort of seeing,
Yeah.
it was sort of rationalizing the thought process. So anyway, but
It put words to things that people had been feeling for years. And that's why it was so powerful, because this was not new information. People had been having that feeling for years. And so for somebody to put it out, but then for the community not to know what to do with it, because the internet was not as powerful as it is now. We weren't using it like we are now, especially with AI. And that brings up a lot of suicide issues. We have a lot of issues where they're working on it. It's not that AI people don't know that that's a problem, but we have to be aware of what's happening in our homes and our communities. And that's where Jacob Crouch continues to have this legacy, because it is needed now more than ever. And so we go into schools, we go into UL, we do a lot of work with UL. I love that. Businesses, and we train them on just the red flags. We're not asking you to be a counselor, but we're asking you to say, hey, you said something that made me concerned. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you thinking about killing yourself? And you can use the words. You say the words. Don't say, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Because many times they aren't, because it won't hurt.
And maybe it could be relief in their mind. So it isn't hurt.
It doesn't. And so the words matter. And this is one of those important places.
So let's talk about that, because there have been some stories in the news where, maybe there was a teen suicide and then they realized they were having a conversation with an AI. I mean, these are conversation models where when you look back at some of the logs, it's not really hard for the perception to be that maybe there was a little bit of encouragement or even a how-to.
Yes.
When you're talking about these. And so that's the responsibility part. And you're going to be talking about that too at the event.
Yes, it is not just a mental health event. So we have an HR expert, we have a professor from UL, we have someone who's been doing AI before it was cool. Yeah. And even he says, I don't like calling myself an expert because it changes so fast.
That's by the nature of it. It learns.
Yes. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think it's this balance. This weekend, our entire family, we rolled like 11 deep into Toy Story.
Oh, wow.
And the movie is about AI and having a computer in your house, and how do you make this balance with tech? Because it can bring people together. If you're a kid in South Louisiana who you don't feel has anybody else like you can find somebody like you on the internet.
Yeah.
And there are people who are good people like you, and maybe there are people who you should not be leaning towards. And so having some guidelines that we can give people, parents especially, because we did not grow up with this, or not as much. I think the next generation will be much better equipped to solve this problem because they grew up with it in their hand.
Yeah.
And so I'm hopeful for the next generation.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've done a lot of work in tech, and one thing that was pretty universal when I talk about, tech executives in California, their kids don't have social media. Are you kidding me? And sometimes they look at you like, why would I put pictures of my kids on social media? And it's almost as if the life cycle has already played itself out there. And then I just think about where we live in South Louisiana. If I didn't have Facebook, I wouldn't know of events happening. It's such a town square. Yes. Where you learn about things happening in the community, you read news, but it all is just sort of in the same place. And that's really kind of getting into the social media aspect, because yes, a community can be found. I don't care if you are pregnant women with red hair and green eyes who like SpongeBob. I promise you there's a group. Oh, yeah. There's a group for it.
It's so beautiful. Yes. That is so beautiful for all of us who have felt like I don't fit in here.
But if I'm a bad actor and I want to get this group of pregnant, redhead, green eyes who like SpongeBob to do collectively something I want them to do, I could take advantage of that. So it really is starting to see those things. So, okay, so you mentioned HR, there is sort of the mental health side of things, just business in general at your event coming up in
Yes.
September.
So Donna Oakwan from Oakwan Associates is our mental health piece. Destin Ortego from Opportunity Machine
Love
is
Destin.
talking about businesses in general. Make sure I get all my people.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle O'Neill with Comment Developers, she's coming in with the HR perspective, and she's actually in school to get a specialty in AI and HR. So that is so exciting.
Because think about the things that can help. I mean, HR is a ton of paperwork. If you could maybe help a process, I know HR has used AI a lot in recruiting, and yet they've also found issues in it because it's an ever-changing thing. So you have to make sure they're not eliminating someone for some factor they can't control, race or gender or anything else like that. You have to train it to go the right way, and it really doesn't replace a human.
No, it will never replace a human. And I have had someone say to my face, your job will be obsolete in 10 years from AI. And I said, well, I'm here now.
Yes, I may not be here in 10 years either. I like to say in my business, I like to protect myself against getting hit by a bus. Everything's there. My wife knows where all the files are, just in case, and
Yeah.
I do think that is something we should prepare for, but it's been compared to so many different things. When the internet itself became such a big deal in the late 90s, there were people who said, the internet will mean your job doesn't exist. Or I've had engineers here in the vault who said, they had a belief when they stopped using a slide rule and using calculators, old school engineers were like, a calculator,
How dare you?
it's just new technology, So I really think you're going to dispel a lot of misconceptions about it, a lot of misperceptions about it, which I actually think is right in line with what Family Tree does. You make things normal. Let's just talk about it.
I love that. Yeah, we normalize.
Yeah, I love that.
I normalize.
Let's give me the specific information if you could. September 25th.
Yeah.
This event is about AI and business, honestly, the modern world. I'm probably butchering what you're calling it, but having read the description and really thinking about how wide of a net this touches everyone. Really, it's in Lafayette, Le Pavillon. What are the times?
Okay, so doors open at 10, so people can network ahead of time because we'll have booths for people to walk around if people want to have a sponsorship booth. And then the event happens at 11, and so we'll serve you food, so you'll get to eat while we're talking.
Perfect.
And then we wrap up around 2, but we have an hour of networking after, so you can actually stay after and walk up to the presenter and say, hey, I have one more question.
Yeah, absolutely. And trust me, you're not the only one with the question. That is one thing I'll tell you. Again, you're not unique. Everyone has the same issues, and also everyone's fumbling through it. So I agree with that. We'll give you some more information about it coming up in this show. We're joined by Marie Collins from the Family Tree. We're going to take a quick break, tell you about Catalyst Bank and what they're doing in our community. And then, if you will, could I pick your brain just a little bit about mental health, the modern world, AI's a part of it, and just sort of what you know.
Absolutely.
All right, we're back with more Kirkpatrick and Company after this.
Kirkpatrick and Company is brought to you by Catalyst Bank. If you're looking for a bank that actually knows Acadiana, you want Catalyst Bank. They've been serving the community for over 100 years, and that's not just history, that's trust. Catalyst Bank is built for local businesses, for local families, for real life. Their mission is simple: be a catalyst for economic growth right here at home. You get the best of both worlds: big bank technology, mobile access, and digital tools that keep up with you, and something you don't always get anymore: real hometown service. Call a branch, a real person answers. Need a loan? Decisions are made locally. That means faster answers and more flexibility. From commercial lending to personal banking, they're here with you for every step. Catalyst Bank, fueling business, improving lives. Visit catalystbank.com or stop by a local branch today.
Marie Collins is our guest today on Kirkpatrick and Company. I'd love to dive into really your background in counseling and what you've seen mental health wise. And I think a lot of times maybe there's a misconception that the world is modern and it's so different now. And yes, there are different challenges, but kind of enlighten us on, are these new challenges? No?
There are no new problems.
Okay.
No, they are the same problems told a different way. I'm going to tell you the story, but the feelings are the same, but the hurt's the same. At the core, it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can all heal, but we heal in connection.
Yeah.
So AI is great for some things, but it is not going to heal. And so my background, I guess that's what we're doing. Okay.
Yes.
So I came out of grad school and I went into a substance abuse program. And so I was a counselor, a new baby counselor, and I walked into the substance abuse world and they said, look, you either love substance abuse treatment or you hate substance abuse treatment. It was an all male residential facility. And I was like, okay.
Young, eager,
Yes, I was
textbook
like
trained.
24. I was like, I got it, but I believed in mental health. And so I, jumped in and ultimately ended up in another treatment facility, worked there for years, and then got pregnant with my first child. And I was like, look, this treatment facility is like seven days a week. Like, I mean, I would go into a group at like 2:00 in the morning. Like it was something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband and I were about to have our first baby, and my husband's like, there was no way you're going at 2:00 in the morning. I was like, maybe I'll look for another job.
Yeah.
And a job at the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office came available, the clinical director, program director. And I was like, what am I going to do? Look at me in a jail. You got to be kidding me. And they said, no. The person who's doing it now looks exactly like you. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And so I waddled in 9 months pregnant, almost, to that interview and got the job.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I can't start for a couple months because I am having a baby.
Right. If you hadn't noticed.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I know you couldn't ask.
Yeah.
And so 3 months later, I started the sheriff's office, and over the course of 10 years, we built incredible programming. And so I was in charge of all of the programming for the offenders. And so whatever we could do, rehab, we did a lot of substance abuse treatment, a lot of work in trauma. Trauma is, everybody in there is carrying a trauma story that is so heavy that I remember, each time you look at there, I'd go and talk to the offenders and I would think, if I had different choices in my life, I would be here.
Mm.
I give back, and if not by the grace of God.
I was going to ask that. Is this sort of like,
if not by the grace of God.
wow. And it comes back to those experiences because I've literally
People.
Talked about even in something very serious on the criminal side, like even homicide, like that we're all capable of it.
Yeah.
Like,
if
we are
you
all
hear the
capable.
stories, you're like, of course you made that decision.
Mm.
Like that was the best decision for you at the time. I understand. Like you thought that was the best thing you could do, or you were not in your right mind at the time.
Mhm.
Alcohol plays a role in a lot of stuff, or drugs,
Yeah.
substances.
Yeah. But the alcohol and drugs might be
Yeah.
to medicate
Yeah.
so you're not dealing with that trauma. So it's a never-ending circle.
It's a never-ending circle. And until you're met with someone in front of you who says it's okay, like you can heal from this, like there is a way back. And that's what all the treatment was. And so at the end of 10 years, I did a TED Talk at TEDx for Million on mental health in the jail. And because I was like, this is possible. There is possible. We can rehabilitate people. And so I'm really proud that I was able to kind of like rubber stamp it, because that was the last thing I did before I went to the family tree.
Yeah.
On to my next opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, the family tree was almost 40 years old. It was right before 40. We're about to be 48, and or 49. And
Late 40s.
yes, late 40s.
Almost 50.
Yeah. We're sort of the same age. And I came into the agency and they were struggling. They had shut counseling down. And so people thought they didn't exist. So I'm walking around saying, I work for the family tree. Like, we thought it closed. So what I thought I was walking into as a business leader is an established business. And what I found was I have a startup, which I had done before years earlier in my career, been a part of a startup. And so I just treated it like a startup. And so I just went everywhere. I'm like, family tree. I was labeling the side of the road, putting signs. Goodwill was a partner for us then. And I was putting signs in the Goodwill drive-thrus. Counseling is back. Come see us for counseling. I drove all over this town.
Yeah.
Planting signs everywhere. And now I've been there almost 10 years. And I've seen us go through all kinds of big, small, we change because we're a gap agency. We fill gaps in the community. We figure out where there's a need, where there's need for information. People need to know about AI. Okay, then this is what we're bringing this year.
Yeah.
People need this kind of group. I was on the Reggie Marshall show,
Yeah.
yesterday, the Marshall Reggie show yesterday. And he was the one who came to us and said, we want evidence-based programming for batterers, for batter intervention, for anger management. We want to make sure we're doing the best practices.
Because we had a
That's
terrible
us.
reputation for that in this state and how we handle domestic violence situations. It's just something that's existed, and
Right.
everyone points to all different reasons for it. But I mean, we think about some of the things that I've heard over the years of covering these cases where, there is sometimes like an old school way people are thinking about it, like, oh, it's a family issue. Like they need to work it out within the household.
Yeah. Their best thinking got them there.
Yes.
They need an outside person.
And where you can't, I mean, sometimes it's so easy from the outside in that situation to be like, why don't you just leave? But what do you do if you don't have access to the resources or a credit card or, to leave to actually do that, man?
No,
So
it's a process, which is where the community comes in. AI is not going to do that for you.
So do you think, talking about the technology side, do you think that the constant connection ultimately, I mean, I won't ask, is it the cause, but how is that for your mental health? The phone always in your hand, social media always there. I often talk about, people don't talk in elevators. They walk in and they open up their phone. It's almost like any weird period that you don't have anything, like any idle time is filled in. So you don't have that time maybe we used to have.
So, okay, I am a licensed mental health professional, but I specialize in nervous system regulation. And so what I see the phone as is how people regulate their nervous system when they're comfortable. So I'm in an elevator, maybe, okay, so COVID, we have a waiting room situation. People are scared. Since COVID, we pulled people away from each other. So then you develop this fear. So when we all got pushed back in, social anxiety appeared in people who didn't have social anxiety. And then it was still there and twice as much for people who had it before.
Yeah.
And so now we learned very quickly how to get back into the community, but we didn't do it with a regulated nervous system. We did it with a frayed nervous system. And so now when we try and make connections, like when we're trying to heal or we're trying to feel seen and we get on the electronics is going to provide that dopamine hit every single time. And that's beautiful, except it is candy.
Yeah. And you're avoiding the hard conversations because Facebook's always going to be nice to you. It's always going to be.
No, not always. Sometimes we will comment. Hold on.
Yeah, don't get lost in the comments. Don't get lost in the comments.
Don't.
But, it's funny because, piggybacking on what you said about COVID, I have said we forgot how to have people over to our house. Like, honestly, we run into people and say, oh my gosh, we should totally get together.
How do we do that?
How do we? And almost like, I don't want anyone in my house. And I have some friends who will be like, we just got to do furniture. Like, and who's sitting on the furniture? Why'd you get it for you to look at? So like, we really try, but it was a total change. I mean, I even think about kids who, my daughter started kindergarten 2020 in the fall. And so she never knew that they had lunch in the cafeteria. Like, she didn't know that.
Yeah.
She didn't know that they played on the playground with all the classes because it was like one class at a time. So it's just so funny. And those things, I mean, we'd be lying if we said we weren't in some way affected by it, that maybe even 6 years down the road.
Oh, absolutely. We are still, because it's collective trauma and we haven't healed it.
I have this gut feeling, even if I think about it, I can always feel it in my stomach. I'll line up the gas station because I went through Katrina and just the thought of like a line of cars in the gas station is like, is there a storm coming that I don't know about?
Right.
We also had to evacuate and there's no power. It's not that there wasn't gas, there was no power. And so we sort of drove into the unknown and ended up in Alabama with family who was going to meet us when we ran out of gas because you couldn't get gas.
Solution.
That was it. And guess
That was
what?
the best solution.
I wish I could. I'm sure if I called my mom, she'd be able to tell me the small one light town in Alabama that we got to, and it had power and gas. It was just, and everyone filled up their cars, and it was just this sigh of relief. But now that's 21 years ago. In my mind,
But it's in it's
oh, it's still there.
it's in your body.
Mm.
And look how easy you remember that feeling. That's post-traumatic stress. And I know post-traumatic stress disorder is what people mostly say.
Yeah.
And I caution us using it. I like when in terms of humanity, I prefer post-traumatic stress because disorder implies that your body is doing something wrong.
Yeah. It needs to be fixed, or you need medication for it.
No,
Yeah.
your body did exactly what it needed to do. It stayed on adrenaline. It ran until you were safe. It did exactly what it needed to do to get you safe. And now you're fine. But what happens is the memory will sometimes still replay for you. And if you have not healed that trauma, that memory then begins to attack you. Because look how quickly, that's time travel.
Yes.
You just traveled back in time.
Oh my gosh, and I can feel my blood pressure definitely went up.
Okay, rub
And
your
my
hands
son.
together. Rub your
Okay,
hands
all right.
together.
Are you gonna help me regulate?
Yes,
All right.
I am.
Let's
just
regulate.
rub our hands together. And you think about something you love, or look around the room and see something. What's your favorite thing in this room?
Oh, these microphones.
Why do you like the microphone?
Oh, I've always loved the microphone. It's the platform. I've always had a microphone in my hand, my whole life.
Do you miss holding it?
I like to hold it, but it holds itself and it's just there. But I do like to hold the microphone. It's a control thing sometimes, I think.
Okay, how do you feel now?
Oh, I feel great. Thank you for bringing me back. Thank you. All right, this wasn't. Do I need to give you a copy of my insurance card?
No, this one's on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's talk about those common things because you did, as we were talking about COVID,
Yep.
there's like shared trauma with that.
Yeah.
I mean, just the daily press conferences. I mean, obviously I was working in news still at that time, and it's like I would go to sleep. I have to do it in the morning radio show, but I knew I was going to wake up by 2 to hear what came out at 2 o'clock in the White House.
Yeah.
But these sorts of things, affect generations. And even if we're not talking about it, I know one of the things someone told me really early on when we had kids about dealing with stress was like, they can pick up on it. Even if we're not saying it, if there are marriage problems or just other relationship problems, you don't even have to say it. Like, they can feel it. They can totally feel it. Let's talk about that younger generation though. Are they experiencing mental health differently than previous generations? What's your thoughts on that?
Okay. Yes, they are absolutely experiencing mental health differently because they have words we didn't have.
Yeah.
In the 80s, mental health was still really scary. Or I mean, if you think back to the 50s, like there was no mental health. It didn't even exist because you couldn't physically see it. And so, especially, you think about the Depression and what they grew up in, and that's where you get, generational trauma, epigenetics that follows us through the time. And so now the kids today, yes, they're like, people are like, oh my God, it's worse than it's ever been. No, it is not. It is the same. There are the same traumas happening. They just have a different story to them.
Mm-hmm.
The Great Depression, that is living in trauma. They're living in wars. That is incredible trauma. Is that any different from the experience of these kids trying to navigate social media? That's a war zone. It's just a different war. We just called it something different.
Yeah.
So, but the kids today have words we did not have. And that is what makes the connection. If you can look across the room and say, hey, what you experienced is called something. And your body did great and it got you to safety. And look at what happens now. But if you're still experiencing, like, let's say, I know that now since that time, it was a 2016 flood. I think about that.
Yeah.
People don't want to drive in the rain.
Yep.
And so then you have more people staying home. So then the kids then don't go more places. And then COVID happened. And, it all compounds. And the more we talk about it, the better off it is because we give them the language.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it a compound? Like, is that, just generally.
Yeah, wins compounded over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's that slow and steady pace that we have to go. And so this generation is not making some of the same mistakes we made or our parents made. They're not going to make them which is beautiful. They're going to make completely different mistakes.
Since COVID, maybe some of my more careful, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of in that category of like someone who's just very careful about things, or maybe thought about things, was, navigated, sort of try to think 10 steps ahead and everything else.
Very strategic.
Strategic. I find sometimes I'm not. And I'm like, I want to do it because I want to do it. And during COVID, it was like, is the world gonna survive? I mean, really, you were really faced with like, well, this could all go, who knows? We could all die tomorrow.
That's right.
And I think that's good and bad, because obviously maybe I was more strategic and it made me a little bit easygoing. When you had someone who already had addiction issues or different things, well, it pushed them further into that. And so that's sort of where that is. We're going to take another break. I want to talk about some habits and maybe what people can do if they're listening right now. Maybe they're sitting in traffic. Maybe they are just gripping that steering wheel and are super overwhelmed. We are here for you. Marie Collins is here from the family tree. We continue with Kirkpatrick and Company after this.
Kirkpatrick and Company is brought to you by Catalyst Bank. If you're looking for a bank that actually knows Acadiana, you want Catalyst Bank. They've been serving the community for over 100 years, and that's not just history. That's trust. Catalyst Bank is built for local businesses, for local families, for real life. Their mission is simple: be a catalyst for economic growth right here at home. You get the best of both worlds: big bank technology, mobile access, and digital tools that keep up with you, and something you don't always get anymore: real hometown service. Call a branch, a real person answers. Need a loan? Decisions are made locally. That means faster answers and more flexibility. From commercial lending to personal banking, they're here with you for every step. Catalyst Bank, fueling business, improving lives. Visit catalystbank.com or stop by a local branch today.
Welcome back, Marie. I'm so happy you're here. Marie Collins is here from the family tree. They have an event coming up in September. It's on September 25th, Le Pavillon. A big part of the family tree is education and really filling knowledge gaps that exist. You have an event that's going to happen there, and really kind of all aspects of AI, from the mental health side to business to HR. I'm going to cover the gamut. You have some really good panelists. Is there a website where people can get information or read more about it?
Absolutely. So acadianafamilytree.org is our website. But if you go and like us on Facebook, you can, we have the event. And so you can say that you're coming to the event, and now we'll put it in your calendar.
Pretty cool. All right. Give us some daily habits. If you were to have someone, let's just say I walk in and I'm like, Marie, I'm just so tense all day, every day. I wake up tense worrying about the day. I go to sleep worrying about the next day. What are some daily habits I could really put into play to help things out?
Okay, so I first want to say the key is daily, but it doesn't have to be a long time, but it has to be some time. Okay. So if you're saying I'm overwhelmed every day, the first thing I'm going to say is when you get up out of bed in the morning, I want you to rub your feet with a blanket or towel, not skin to skin. And so you want to do body mapping on your feet. Mm-hmm. So you get out of bed and your brain says, where am I? And so I want your brain orienting to your place and time. Where are your feet standing throughout the day? How can you be as grounded as possible throughout your day? So you get up and you just take it like your sheet. It could be the sheet for your bed, something you like.
Yeah.
And you rub your one foot and you get all over it. And then you rub your other foot. And that's one thing to start the day. Okay. All right. So then let's say you get in your car and traffic. One, car is my favorite thing because, car karaoke. Like, there's nothing better than singing in the car. Oh, my gosh.
Well, we'll have the best singer in the car.
I sound amazing, and I have great choreography to my songs if anyone sees me in traffic. So that is an incredible stress buster. Any kind of dancing, if you can break free in your car is your safest place. Come on, yell, scream. If there's something you want to say it in your car. Say it loud. Say it where it sounds weird. Make weird sounds in the car. These are ways for you to be able to blow off this steam before you get to work, where you want to be present and strategic.
Just recently, we are sort of seeing something unprecedented play out on TV right now, and that's Savannah Guthrie in the Today Show with her mom. Her mom is missing in Arizona.
What?
Do you know this story?
No!
Okay, so Savannah Guthrie's mom is missing in Arizona.
Oh my God.
They believe she's dead. She's working again. After being off for so long, she's back working. Which, as you can imagine, your family's the subject of this ongoing story. And I can see, and obviously the TV background that I have, I see how they're very carefully producing it around her and everything else. Someone asked about it. How do you do the job? And she says, I cry in the car on the way.
Yeah.
I get to a place I feel comfortable, which is work, surrounded by people who are doing great work, and that's my family. And then I cry all the way home. That all these things can really, you don't have to cry all day.
No.
There are layers, and they can all exist. The joy, the sadness, the fear. And I'm sure that's sort of what you help people and in your training. That like those things are, I'm sorry, I can't take stress away from you. Like life's always going to have stress.
Yes. You're going to have ups and downs. I mean, and excitement and anxiety run like right on the same thread.
Yeah.
And so it depends on how you classify it as what it is.
I've seen it as like a bell curve. The people who like how much anxiety it takes to actually like be a high achiever and actually do those things.
You need a little
And
bit.
then once it gets too high, it's like, nope, locked up, locked up. Okay, so back to that. Okay, so you're singing in the car.
The crying in the car is great too. I have absolutely recommend that technique. Have done it myself. And so it gives you a container, and you're not dishonoring what's happening. You're saying a life still goes on, and that's okay. And I go to my safe place. That her being able to go to work, I've gone to work as my safe place. And I hope that most people's work.
It's my safe place most Mondays because I'm exhausted, and I'm like. So, like when the kids go back to school, I love my kids to death. I've never loved anything more, but I am so ready for someone else to love them by the time September comes around.
It takes a village.
It takes a lot. So you get there on that first day of school. Yeah. It's like, what do they have those things? They have some of these schools, they call it like the cry hour or whatever for like, what do they call it? Some sort of like
woohoo breakfast.
Yeah, woohoo breakfast. It's like a woohoo breakfast. And it's not going to be at school. It is like a good breakfast. It is like an American egg. Like it is mimosas on Monday.
See, it's the full gamut of feelings.
Yes, we can feel them all.
We can feel them all.
Okay. What's another tip you like? You just got me rub my hands together. Is that also part of like the grounding? Here's where we are. We feel something.
So this I do when I do presentations. The first thing I do is say, okay, I'm going to have you take 3 deep breaths with me. I do that for all my staff meetings, the beginning of every staff meeting. Everybody's going to take 3 breaths together just to get present. And then rub your hands together. For people who have post-traumatic stress, you don't always know when your trigger is going to go off, when something's going to activate something inside you that rises that feeling. And so for you to be able to, in that moment, come down and say, okay, look, these are my hands. I'm rubbing my hands together, and I really like this painting that I'm looking at. And so you start to ground yourself back in the room. So if you're in a presentation and you hear something you don't like, or it makes you think of something else, and you start to get distracted, you're like, wait, I want to be focused, and I come back together. So you can use it for many things, not just being triggered, but it is very helpful because for people who live with post-traumatic stress, there are all kinds of triggers throughout the world, and to be able to regulate yourself back, because you can't always control what things you're going to hear or what people are going to say.
And I will say, like, that is one thing I feel like in our present, and sometimes I actually think people emphasize it just a little bit too much because I don't see it necessarily, but the kind of perception that some people have triggers everywhere and maybe we just have to get used to that discomfort. I think that might be going a little bit back to the 80s where you did sort of suffer in silence and you didn't say,
and that's not what this is.
I don't think we're there. We've made so much progress.
We're not. We're not. It's not saying you don't have the trigger. And I mean, I have triggers that I can't control. There are certain triggers that if it happens to me, my body is going to respond, and it's dramatic.
Yeah.
I have had a very dramatic experience on a cruise ship with Jackie Russo.
Oh gosh.
I'm probably on a watch list, but I couldn't control what happened.
Yeah.
After, like, I had the trigger and I couldn't control what happened. And she and I came out and I was able to regulate, but I don't expect the world to change around me. I can tell people and they can know and they can help me regulate.
Yeah.
I always have a person when I go somewhere who is available to help me regulate if I need it. But I am still responsible to get myself to my dentist appointments, even though the dentist scares the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
But I get there and I do what I have to do because I'm responsible for my diagnosis. I'm responsible for those things, but I can have people in my corner who help me, but I can't expect someone to never say anything that's going to trigger me.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
That's really smart. All right, can I use some quick hits? Some quick hit questions? We
Yeah.
like to call this the lightning round here on Kirkpatrick and Company.
Uh-huh.
You don't know these questions,
That
and tell us as much or as little about it as you want.
okay.
What's one misconception about mental health and mental health treatment that you'd love to eliminate?
I think a lot of it's talking. It's talking to people and actually feeling your feelings means that you feel them. So when you're in therapy, all it is saying, you know what, I'm really mad at such and such because they did this. And when I think about it, it makes me want to stomp my feet. And I'm like, okay, well, then we're going to stomp our feet. Because in energy, feelings are energy. And we just need to move them. And we need to move them how your body wants to move them, not necessarily how my body wants to move them.
So we talked about making a lot of progress as a society in at least acknowledging mental health issues and treatment. What is one like specific thing you'd love to change about how we approach it? Yeah, going even further.
There's a difference between trauma aware, trauma informed, and trauma sensitive. And so I think some people need to be really trauma sensitive and some people just need to be trauma aware or at least trauma informed. So let's say you're around different people. A group of people in a large setting, you need to know, like, read the room. There's certain jokes that are not appropriate there. Like that's awareness. Like, hey, I'm in this setting. Maybe this isn't the time to tell a certain joke. Okay. There's a difference thing, like if you're in the medical, like when I go, like I said, the dentist or a doctor's office. Okay, so I've had to do a walk-in clinic before. I cannot be in the room with a man. The doctor came in. It was a man by himself, and I started having a panic attack. And I was able to say, hey, and through my fear, I'm a trauma survivor. And he said, I will go get a female nurse. And he backed out the door and he went and he came back with the female nurse. And God bless them. They, stood by the side and he talked to me. He's like, I need to look in your ear. Can I do that? And it was this asking permission. I said, yes, because you asked, you can look in my ear. But if he would have come in that room and come straight at me, I would have escalated and I'd have fought that man, even though I needed his help.
Even though he needed to look in your ears because you were having whatever.
Like an ear infection, like you asked.
You know what's really funny is I actually never appreciated that. I honestly, I don't have any experiences like rooted in that specific thing, but having daughters, going to the pediatrician we went to was a man, and every time he had to do their exam or look maybe where their shirt would be covered up, he would say the words every single time, I'm going to look under your shirt because your dad is here and I'm a doctor. Oh. And it gave them a chance. And then he waited to make sure it was never a thing.
The consent.
And when I say they have always been so comfortable with him, and it really did always and it was one of those, till I heard him say it, it had never crossed my mind as this is pretty strange because we were going to a different place. It's someone they see once a year, if we're lucky. And he's making sure they're still healthy. And
it's beautiful. And that's what we didn't do years ago. And that's what this generation has that we didn't have.
Would you say that sort of falls into the trauma aware that maybe there may be an issue? So we just want to make sure.
We just want to make sure. And we want to teach children consent. And then what's safe touch, what's not safe touch. Using the correct words for body parts. Very important.
Yeah.
Those things are better for our kids.
On the topic of kids, people love to talk about how resilient kids are. Over the course of your career, not just kids, but what have your clients taught you about resilience? Resilience of humans.
Oh, God, the sheriff's office, the offenders in the sheriff's office, the things that they went through, and to watch them as they went through the rehab programs and graduated, and they've never graduated from a program before in their life. And to see them change and want to do better and say, I didn't even know that these skills existed. A lot of it's a skills issue. They just never were taught. Mm-hmm. And so we're expecting someone to be rehabilitated, but they've never been habilitated because they never have baseline of stable foundation. And so to see people who you think there is this, you in jail, me meeting you in jail is meeting you on your worst day. And I've watched them walk out into jobs, into futures, into their families. Like we didn't just change that one person's life. We changed like 100 people's lives. And that impact to me is incredible. That one person who heals can heal it all.
And you know, I always think it's interesting because it could go one of two ways. When you work in the criminal system or in law enforcement, you either see that grade in people or you just really get hardened by the bad things that happen.
Yeah.
And if bad things do happen.
They are.
They always have.
Bad things happen to me.
Yeah.
But time marches on and I'm still here. And just because something bad happened to me doesn't mean it's still happening to me. And I have choices that I can make to have whatever dreams I want. It doesn't matter where my story started. It's where it ends.
Man. All right, finally. If someone's listening to this right now, maybe they think it's weak to ask for help.
Okay.
What do you say to someone who maybe they're having suicidal thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're having addiction issues maybe they're hiding it. Maybe they're the only one that even knows. What do you tell someone, who needs to get help?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. 988, hands down. 988, you could just be like, I don't feel right. I don't know what's going on. I'm scared. It's not just, I'm feeling like I might be suicidal. It is not just that. You can pick it up and say, look, I'm panicked because I just failed a test. Like, you can use that 988 for any of those things. And they will then provide you resources after that. The other thing is there are people out there to help everyone. And just because you are saying your need to someone and they are not helping you, that's not your person. Keep saying what you need. You will find who your healers are if you keep telling them what the problem is. But don't get deterred by the people who don't understand what you're saying yet.
Marie Collins, we need more people like you in this world.
Oh.
Great conversation. Get help. Be educated. Learn about AI. Learn about all these things. Family Tree is here. Gap Agency, just such almost 50 years.
Yes.
Almost 50
I
years.
love it.
Almost 50 years in the community. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bree Collins, our guest on Kirkpatrick and Company. Make sure you share this conversation to someone who needs it. Maybe you need to just listen to it again. Rewind it now. Listen to it again. Life goes on. You're still here. Bad things happen. You're still here. Take that away. Thanks so much for being here.